I swear I'm not a Disney adult. I just like animation. Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite Disney movies ever. I mean, pretty much everyone knows the story. A young girl ends up taking a nap and then she goes through a crazy dream and ends up in a place called Wonderland, a world that makes no sense at all. Fun fact about Alice is that her voice actor, Catherine Beaumont, I probably mispronounced that, is actually still alive to this day. This movie came out in 1955 and the voice actress is still alive in the year 2026. Her voice actress also played a role in the game Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, where she voiced Kyrie's grandma. But overall, this movie is just a total trip, and I just like looking at the animation. Another thing I really do like about this movie is how, at the start, Alice is pretty polite, but as the movie progresses, she gets annoyed.
Oh, silly riddle. You just said...
Very good. How about a nice cup of tea?
Have a cup of tea, indeed.
She is genuinely losing her patience the longer she stays in this dream. But one of my favorite moments in the movie is when Alice finally gives into despair because she thinks she's going to be stuck in this world forever. And she's so sad that even all the creatures of Wonderland end up feeling bad for her. When you have all the insane shit that happens in this movie, or all the insane creatures feeling bad for you, you know you're in a pretty bad situation. And near the end of the movie, Alice ends up meeting the Queen of Wonderland, and she's my favorite character in this whole movie, besides Alice. What I just like about her is that she's basically like Big Mom from One Piece, except way more crazy and just constantly yelling. And usually, a character that's constantly yelling would be annoying, but this queen is so over the top and crazy that she's actually hilarious. I wish I could actually show off more footage of this movie, but I don't want to getting a copyright strike. So I just recommend that you go out of your way to see this movie for yourself if you haven't seen it. The Great Mouse Detective. I've been fucking with this movie since I was probably 3 years old or something like that. My godfather would send my mom VHS tapes and I would watch Disney movies on VHS. And one of the movies I did really vibe with was The Great Mouse Detective. This movie came out in the year 1986. And, a lot of people nowadays say that Disney's going downhill, which they do have a good point. Disney has done a lot of bad stuff during this time period and has, had mixed box office success and mixed reviews. But the same thing actually applies to Disney during the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Disney was in a bad spot for those 30 years. It wasn't until the 1990s where we had that whole renaissance and Disney pretty much got back on its feet before falling off again in the mid-2000s and then coming back again with Frozen in the 2010s and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, The Great Mouse Detective, yeah, it's a Sherlock Holmes story, and I just really like this movie. The dialogue is witty, and the animation, I just really like this movie's animation. I pretty much like every 2D animated Disney animation. So, yeah, starting now, I'm not going to bring up the animation anymore. Well, actually, no, I'm going to do it for the next entry. But after the next entry, I won't talk about the great animation anymore, because then I'll just be sounding like a broken record. The highlight of this movie is Professor Ratigan, a guy who is so delusional and so insane that he refuses to be called a rat. He identifies himself as a mouse. In a way, Ratigan was the first trans character in a Disney movie. But anyway, he's voiced by Vincent Price, and it's a real shame that Vincent Price is dead because he put his soul into this character. He's a criminal genius, but he's not in the right place of mind, and that's a huge disadvantage for him. Personally, I would recommend watching The Great Mouse Detective just for the villain alone, but overall, it's still a very fun movie, a nice little detective mystery. And yeah, there is that one song in the bar that might have awakened something in certain audiences back then. But, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Shawshank Redemption is another great Disney film.
Yes, sir. I'm a regular Sears and Roebuck.
Alright, the last movie I'm going to glaze for the animation is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The fact that this movie came out in the 1930s is incredible. No AI, no computers. Everything that you see in this movie was all done by hand. Seriously, look at this shit. Like, think how much effort went into, drawing all this and animating it. Like, dear God, this movie still holds up and it's almost 100 years old. Why the fuck would you remake it? But one of my favorite parts in the movie are the dwarves coming in contact with Snow White. They've never met a woman before. One of the dwarves is even based and red-pilled.
Danger. She's a female. And all females is passion.
Based! I also like how since this movie came out in the 1930s, Disney didn't really feel the need to play it safe. Like, Disney genuinely used to have some balls back then. But overall, outside of the attempted murder plot, this is a very cute and wholesome movie, and I just really like it, especially for the animation. Beauty and the Beast, you can't go wrong with this movie, and that's all I'm really going to say. It's a great movie. But really, what I also like about Disney is Gaston. Usually, in these types of stories, the hero is like a big, muscular guy. However, in Beauty and the Beast, Gaston is just a blundering, sexist piece of shit bully. Back when I was a kid, the Beast used to actually kind of scare the shit out of me. Like, I genuinely thought there were moments where he was about to just go full domestic violence on Belle. But nowadays, I think the Beast has a very cool design and his voice sounds genuinely intimidating. It's just awesome. Tokyo Godfathers is not a Disney movie, but you really need to go out and fucking watch it. Now, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This movie is just awesome. Yeah, it's not fully faithful to the original source material. Yeah, it's a little bit more tame, but the key word here is a little. This movie is still okay with showcasing death and showing the themes of hell and suffering. Also, I really do like the aesthetic of this movie. It kind of reminds me of Bloodborne. The story, well, this movie has some of the best songs in any Disney movie ever. And yeah, the gargoyles are annoying comic relief, but they don't take up much screen time in the movie, to be honest. And to be fair here, it does kind of make sense for Quasimodo to imagine the gargoyles talking, because hey, he's pretty lonely and he hasn't really socially interacted with anyone outside of his cruel and abusive master. I also really like how Quasimodo does not get with the hot woman at the end. Usually with these types of movies, the not so good looking guy ends up getting with the woman. But that's not really the case at all. The movie is a lot more realistic about that kind of a situation. However, Quasimodo does get accepted by society for his heroic actions at the end of the movie, and I think that's good enough. Finally, The Nightmare Before Christmas is another movie I like. I mean, there's really nothing else like it. And yeah, there's that classic saying, is this a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie? For me personally, it's an anytime type of movie. And nothing, I mean, there have been some attempts to try and make this movie again, but I don't think anything will ever really come close to it. There have been other, like, stop motion films that have tried to replicate it, like Corpse Bride, but you can't really top Nightmare Before Christmas. This movie also has some of the best songs ever, and I just really love looking at it. And if Disney ever decides to remake this movie, then I wish misfortune upon anyone who dares to think of that idea.